very common to hear the words, I'm being tested right now. Sometimes I say that in my life when things aren't going my way, or I'm going through a rough patch, or something happens in life that causes you to think you're being knocked back a few pegs. And I want to unpack in the video today, what does this actually mean? How do you respond, or how can you best respond during times of uncertainty, doubt, or when things are seemingly going wrong in your life? How do we take that opportunity and see it as a new way of stepping into a new frequency to create a new reality, instead of perpetuating a loop of fear or lack of victimhood that's keeping us stuck in a reality we no longer desire? It's important to examine in your life, or accept that in your life, things are going to go wrong, or things are going to happen that go against your original intentions. And if we examine the nature of reality, right, the nature of this world that we live in, it's built in duality. It's built in up and down, left and right, yin and yang, masculine and feminine, dark and light. If we understand the underlying premise of universal principles, then we get to accept there's an ebb and flow of in existence. There's the pendulum is swinging from left to always. The sun goes up and the sun goes down. There's an inevitable swing in energies that's occurring. So in your own reality, when you choose to step into a new frequency, or the word frequency or new self or new reality are all synonymous, to see an external change, we know there must be an internal shift to occur. But when you make that internal shift, almost expect that you're going to be tested, or you're going to be challenged through the world to see if you're actually serious about leveling up your frequency, leveling up who you're being. Remember, to have something new in our life, we need to change who we're being. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. So if you're not happy with something that shows up in your life, or for example, a friend of mine just had his car stolen, or recently a client that I was working with felt like the intensity of his self-sabotage patterns were getting worse. And if these scenarios show up in your life that you don't like, or seem to be wrong, the first step is to examine, okay, what part of me created this? What old story or belief or emotion am I entertaining that created this reality that's not congruent with what I want? Because that level of responsibility gives you all your power back, because now you're not blaming someone out there. Oh, I can't believe that fucking person stole my car. Like, how could the world do this to me? My new car, like, how could this happen? Or what am I doing wrong? Why do I keep going back into these old ways? There's a victim story that unconsciously will get created. The mind loves to do this, by the way. Everyone's mind loves to do it. No one's immune to it. But you can see it. You can start to see it and bring more awareness to it, to notice that, hey, that's not actually serving me. That's actually keeping me stuck in the old loop of who I no longer want to be, and perpetuate a certain level that you're at, be it in your money, in your business, in your relationships, in your health, in your fitness, whatever it may be. So to get to a new level, we have to transcend the old story and the old self. So through that understanding, you can actually, firstly, like I said, almost anticipate something going wrong or something not going to your liking, and then see it as the perfect opportunity to practice responding from your new self and the new frequency. Now, how do you know what the new self is? How do you understand what that new frequency is? You think about, or you play with, if I did have that goal, or if I did have that relationship, or I did have that money that I wanted, how would I feel? How would I act? Who would I be? Who would I be in that reality? And let me tune into that operation, those operating principles right now, so that when something goes wrong, if I have $100 million in my bank account, and that's the reality I'm trying to step into, but I don't actually have that right now, but something goes wrong in my life where I have to pay a fine, or someone takes my car, or a client wants a refund. If I'm operating from the frequency of my new self, and my new self operates from the energy of like abundance, there's $100 million in my bank account, why would I care about a $2.5K refund or a $5K fine to pay? I've got $100 million. I'm abundant. I take care of it. You just respond and just do what's necessary, do what's right. Act in accordance with this new understanding, instead of going back to the old story of, fuck, I don't have enough for this. Can't believe this is happening. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna have enough money to pay my rent. Kicks into all anxiety and fear. And then boom, you're out of the flow. You're out of the receptive state where you can start to receive and attract things that are in accordance with your new self, to attract that level of abundance in your life. It's all happening from these minute-to-minute decisions through the frequency that we occupy. Remember, the frequency that we occupy is creating our reality. It's the magnetizing force. Everything's energy, frequency, and vibration. So understanding moment to moment, what part of you is showing up right now, and pay particular attention to things that go wrong. Because the grander truth or the larger opportunity is to examine the whole meaning that you're creating around negative situations or something that looks like is wrong. Because that story or meaning of this is so bad, I can't believe this is happening, it's wrong, this is happening. Is it? That's just one side of the pole. Remember, life is polarity. If we're just looking at the bad or the dark or the negative, we're only looking at one side. There has to be a light. There has to be a positive. There has to be some sort of other meaning to this event that if through shifting your concentration or shifting your awareness, you can entertain the possibility that, hey, maybe this negative situation is actually beautiful. Maybe there's growth happening right now. Maybe this is exactly what I need to practice my new self to transcend all of the old limitations that were running in my subconscious. So your car gets stolen or you need to pay a fine or something happens that's not what you want. The new operating system is, yes, all right. What if the bad actually was good? What if there was no bad? What if there was only good? And even the perceived negative or shitty situations actually have an undercurrent of good when you put on the right glasses to look through the bad and choose to awaken the good. Who would you have to be able to do that? Well, you'd have to remember this stuff, right? You'd have to remember and not forget, because that's what the mind loves to do, is just forget. It goes back to unconscious. It goes back to the familiar of complaining and resisting situations as they come up. So how are you going to remember? How are you going to remember these things? Remember, your relationships are a great example of it, because your partner's going to do something that pisses you off. Your partner's going to do something that upsets you, that's not in congruence with what you had expected or envisioned in this pre-constructed reality that you thought was you had control of. Sometimes you don't have control of things. And when that happens, how are you going to remember? How are you going to remember, oh yeah, it's life. This stuff happens. That's why we love life. It's beautiful. Can't have the good without the bad. You can't have the bad without the good. Learn to love all of it. So how do you practice learning to love all of it? Firstly, it's awareness. You can't intervene in a world you can't see. If you can't even see these things happening, if you can't even see how the mind is pulling you into this delusion where you're only focusing on the negative and reinforcing old emotions that are keeping you stuck at a certain level, if you can't see that, you're not going to be able to transcend it. So for you right now, list it all out, write it all down, become aware of it. Do this with my clients all the time. We do an old self and a new self. As soon as I start working with them, we get out a piece of paper, we list out the old identity in your business, in your relationships, in your finances, in your health. We list it down. What's the old way of feeling, thinking, and acting that's not in congruence with who you want to be and the reality you want to have? If you want help with this, by the way, and more direct guidance, just look at the link in the description and you can learn more about my coaching. But you don't even need coaching for this. You just need more self-discipline of where your attention is going. It can help to have a coach. It can help to have someone shine the light on these things. And that's why I choose to have a coach, and why I choose to, when I am trying to transcend an old reality, I'll bring in extra support so someone can help me see the blind spots, see the ways that I'm creating a certain paradigm or a worldview, so that someone can come in and go, bro, there's this whole other world. There's this whole other reality that you can't even see right now because you're stuck in a mental loop. So it's really valuable when you have that. It doesn't have to be me. It could be someone in your life. Someone that's willing, someone that's above you, has a greater level of awareness, can really help you shift quicker. And that's why watching these kinds of videos can help you, because maybe my awareness is helping you expand yours a little bit, because now you're seeing, oh yeah, I can see where I go back into those old ways. I can see where this victim story gets in the way of my life. I can see where I'm sabotaging love or abundance. So list all that down, then list down the new self, which is, how do you want to feel, think, and act? But where does that new self, where do you want to start to mentally rehearse how that new self is going to show up? If you run a business, it's great because stuff's going to go wrong in the business. People are going to leave. You're going to need to hire new people. You're going to need to have uncomfortable conversations in a business. So how do you want to mentally rehearse how your new self shows up in that scenario? Maybe it's making content. Maybe you know you need to make more content, but the old self you gets hesitant and shy about stepping on the camera. Practice and mentally rehearse, how is it going to feel when you're operating from the place of someone who has hundreds of thousands of followers and has that feel in your body to speak and project truth into the world. Maybe you just feel more relaxed. Maybe your body is more calm. And then in a meditation or in a time in silence in nature or in your own contemplative practice, you can play. Emphasis on play. Play with these different possibilities. Play with these different realities. This should be fun. Reality creation or shifting into new frequencies should be a fun exercise. If you're making it work or you're making it serious or something you need to do, then you're not going to do it. You're just not going to enjoy it. You'll see it as another to-do list item. And in a sense, that will also be perpetuating the fact that you're stuck in the realm of judging, putting pressure on, thinking that there's somewhere you need to get to. So from this grander understanding that there's nowhere that you need to get to, there's nothing you need to do, you get to be anyone and anything. You get to be and do anyone. Be and do anything and anyone. So play with that. How would you operate through the world if you had nothing to get, nowhere to get to, and nothing to become? And you got to expand your possibilities of what it is that you could fill into as a space. Can become esoteric, but at the end of the day, it's where we're choosing to direct our concentration, our attention, what beliefs we're choosing to feed, which is then reinforcing certain emotional patterns that we're projecting out into the world to a very specific electromagnetic signature that's either pulling or repelling certain things into our life via people, money, places, or experiences. So when you understand the game of energetics in this way, you can start to laugh at things. You can start to relax into things. You can start to love all the negativity when it comes up, because it's just as beautiful as the positivity from the grander perspective of you are God, you are source, you are neutrality, you are everything and nothing. Universal principles. The breakdown of the universal principles comes from the 0-point field. In the beginning, there was nothing. In the beginning, there was word, which was the God spoke word into reality, where we had 1 and 2. We had duality, 1 and 2, up and down, left and right. Okay. Then you come down again, we have 4. We have things split into 4. We have the elements, earth, wind, water, fire, derivatives of masculine and feminine. And we won't go any further because that's a whole topic for another conversation. But when you understand these principles, I guess what I'm referring to is once you have knowledge and awareness around these principles, you can look at the world through that lens. Look at the world through the lens of where did everything come from? And remember that you are a fragment of that source. Fragment of the 1.0 field, the 0-point field, the Tao. You are connected to that source frequency. So when you're playing in the world of form or duality, don't take any of it too seriously. Know that it's a dance. It's just something that's happening. It just is. It's never as serious as it tends to be. I know my mind sometimes like to create more seriousness about things in business or things not going my way. Whenever there's seriousness and heaviness, whenever there's something like you're feeling like stuckness, that means you're resisting something. It means you're in resistance. So to break resistance, you remember, where do you come from? Who are you really at your core? At your core, you're none of it, but you're also all of it. And at the core, you can remember that you're being shaped by what you focus on. So choose to focus on the truth. And the truth is there was never anything wrong. There just is. The truth is you get to remove the meaning and the judgments and the labels off everything just by noticing how you've fallen into judgment. The moment you see it, you're no longer it. So the practice for you, my friend, is that let's practice seeing more of these little ways in which you fall into judging the world as good and bad. Judging these circumstances that why is this happening to me? And see if you can lean into the possibility of embracing every shitty situation as a way to practice stepping into this new understanding that you're taking on and this new reality that will start to be birthed from that and through that. I know you can do it. If you want more information like this, jump on my email list, click the link below. I send out emails every week with this kind of knowledge. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.